Why do patients fear when they are told that we have to put you on oxygen? This is literally a patient I had on the ward, used to follow instructions down to the finest detail. But the moment that we told him that we needed to put him on oxygen, he refused. Now, I didn't want to sound judgmental, so I wanted to inquire from him why he thought that being on oxygen was a bad idea. Then what he told me was, almost everyone that he's brought to the hospital has actually died after being put on oxygen. And then secondly, he has a picture that when a person is on oxygen, he's very, very sick. Well, I told him, rightfully so, you are very sick, and that's why we want to put you on oxygen. But it doesn't mean that every person who's on oxygen is going to die. And in this video, we're going to explain that. And as a simple understanding, let's just start with what's contained in air, this same air that we are breathing. So this air contains about 21% of oxygen and 78% nitrogen. So every time that you breathe in, you're taking in that 21% oxygen, and every time you breathe out, it's converted into carbon dioxide through different reactions. What is the oxygen going to be used for in your body? Simply put, oxygen is used to create energy through a process of aerobic respiration. So your oxygen combines with your glucose, and then it produces ATP, which is your energy. Energy is what drives you as a human being. You have to move, you have to think, you have to talk, and different things. If you don't have this energy, the ultimate thing that will happen is that you are going to die, simply put. So anyways, now since we know that oxygen is important, what really brings about this fear of being put on oxygen? Maybe the oxygen is thought to be different, as in the one that we find in the hospital is different from the one in the outside. Well, it's not, but the amounts are different. So remember, I talked about 21% of oxygen. That's the one that's found in the normal air. And then the one that we give in the hospital is pure oxygen. So it has about 99% of pure oxygen. So in short, we're giving you more oxygen than what you can get from the normal air, and we're going to see why. Let's just have a very small example of a patient who will need oxygen. So Mr. X was moving from Dola to Lusaka, and then he was involved in an accident. He got fractured, and then somewhere in his thigh, somewhere there, and he was losing a lot of blood. Now, we all know that when you lose blood, we have to go back to the function of what blood does. Blood has red blood cells, and these red blood cells are the ones that are carrying the oxygen, the one that we were breathing in the beginning. Now, if the carriers of this oxygen have reduced, you will need to find a way that you increase the number of carriers so that they still provide the same work that they used to do. A simple analogy I'm going to give you is, let's just say you got 5 people and you had them to move a distance of 20 meters. Each one of them had to carry a container of 20 liters. So 5 people, 20 liters containers, all of them. So you give them time. Say, move from this point to the other one. Now, the 5 of them will easily manage that because they're just having one container. So what happens then if you are to get 3 out of the 5 out of the picture, meaning you've remained with 2 people? What you have done is that the same number of people that you've left, the 2 of them, can easily do the job, but now they will require more energy, one, and then they will require more time. So meaning they might carry 2 containers, move the 20 meters, but then one of them will have to come back for that remaining container for them to complete the task. Now, in this state, what I'm just simply saying is you've reduced the number of oxygen that is being carried because you've reduced the number of red blood cells that's supposed to carry them around. Now, in a case where you're involved in an accident, your oxygen has come down, this is what you actually need. Now, this is what oxygen comes to do for you. It's literally giving a wheelbarrow. It's sort of like a wheelbarrow. It will give to those people, and then sort of like it fits like all those containers, puts them in one thing, and then they get to move. Now, the 2 people who only have to sort of like help each other with a wheelbarrow, and like having to carry them manually. And we all know that a wheelbarrow, it's like way easier to move these things. So this is typically what oxygen does. What it's doing is it's trying to help your own body to use less energy while creating more, actually, so that in the process that blood that you were losing, even if it's an ongoing process, the little red blood cells that you have will be able to do the job with the extra assistance, which is why we give pure oxygen. Another scenario is cancer patient comes to the hospital. Let's just say a prostate cancer which has then moved to different parts of the body. Now, one characteristic of cancers is that they are very demanding. So they require a lot of food, which is your glucose. They require a lot of oxygen. So they end up taking up so much, and then they deprive your own body of the same thing. Now, when you come to the hospital and then we check your oxygen saturations, which normally should be in the 90s, and let's just say we find you at maybe 35, we'll then put you on oxygen so that we make up for that oxygen being used up by the cancers. So if you deny being on oxygen, what you're simply saying is that you're sacrificing yourself. It's like you're shortening your lifespan instead of you actually prolonging it. So in conclusion, oxygen is something that you're breathing right now. The only difference with the one that we find in the hospital is that that one is pure oxygen. It's actually better oxygen because it's in very good amounts. The reason that we'll put a patient on oxygen is because we are trying to assist the body in order for it to work better as it's recovering from this ailment.